Hey there. Thanks for clicking on another episode of the Shred Sessions podcast. My name is Drew Creel, and this show is all about metal guitar playing and shred guitar playing of all types. And in this episode, we have a very special guest. We have Brett Stine, who is a Texas-based guitar player. He played in the band Haji's Kitchen in the 90s and throughout the 2000s. He was also on Shrapnel Records for a short time, and more recently, over the last several years, Brett wrote a book called In the Mystery, which is a complete deconstruction of the harmony, the melody, compositions, and improvisations of Allan Holdsworth, who many believe is the most interesting and advanced guitar player of all time. He created something so unique with his style of guitar playing. Sadly, Allan Holdsworth died in 2017, and people online have been trying to figure out how to play like him, what he is playing, where he is coming from when he comes up with his melodic lines and his improvisation. And Brett, in my opinion, is the guy who really nailed it and got it right and figured out what Holdsworth was doing, and he's brought that to you in a 2-volume book set. These are pretty hefty books. There's quotations in here that reveal what Holdsworth is doing, and there's just a lot of amazing information. So it doesn't really matter what style of music you're into. There's something that you could take away from a guy like Brett Stine and Allan Holdsworth, and I'm going to implore you to stick around. So this is In the Mystery. Brett also wrote several shorter books with Messiaen Etudes. Messiaen was a contemporary classical composer who composed organ works and symphonies, and he had a very interesting approach to harmony as well, and Brett is very hip to that, and he's got several different Messiaen Etude books. And something that we failed to mention in the following podcast is that Brett does have a new book that is coming out soon. It's called Messiaen Patterns Volume 1, Modern Lines for Improvisation and Practice. So if you want something new from Brett, that is a book that I would check out. There's just a lot of fresh and, in my opinion, cutting edge ideas in Brett's work. If you want to learn a Holdsworth solo, there's Transcriptions. If you want to know the scales that Holdsworth was using and when he was using them, Brett is a great resource for all things Allan Holdsworth, and it's a real honor to have him on the show. Real quick, before we get started, I just wanted to say, if you want to support my work here on the Shred Sessions podcast, if you want to support what we're doing, please consider buying a shirt. We have our original Shred Sessions logo shirt. We have things like koozies that look like this. We have mugs and lots of other cool products. Here's our newest shirt, the zombified shirt. Check that thing out. Pretty sick. Please buy these shirts, guys, if you want us to keep doing the show. It takes a lot of our time and effort, and every purchase that you make really helps out what we're doing here. So without further ado, let's get to the Brett Stine interview right now. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Shred Sessions podcast. I'm here with Brett Stine, the foremost knowledgeable guitar player, writer on Allan Holdsworth. So Brett has 2 books that are out, well, more than 2 actually, but he wrote a book called In the Mystery a few years back, and I instantly had to purchase it because I'm a huge Allan Holdsworth fan. We're going to talk about Holdsworth stuff today. We're going to talk about Messiaen. So if you want to improve your guitar playing at all, if you want some fresh ideas, I don't really care what genre you're into or what angle you're coming at this from. Definitely stick around and watch this interview because there's going to be some cool stuff that we talk about. So, Brett, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, this is really exciting, man. I've been following you for years on Facebook. You're kind of a meme lord on Facebook, man. I always get a kick out of the stuff that you post, man. Like, what makes you post that stuff, dude? You just love the comments?
Trying to distract myself from the fact I'm doing cardio usually.
Oh, okay.
Usually like hopped up on a bunch of caffeine and I'm doing like my daily cardio session or whatever. And I'm like, well, I got nothing to do, so I might as well like post some stuff. Yeah. And then people get all riled up about some of it or whatever, but like, it's all just meant to be funny,
Well, it's very funny, man. It definitely brings a smile to my face every day when I see your posts. So, yeah, it's good stuff. So, dude, you know, I went back through all of the Marvin videos that you did a couple years ago, the How to Holdsworth videos, and those are great. And I don't want to rehash everything in those videos here today. We don't have time for that.
Right.
But I got a lot out of those videos, and I have some follow-up questions related to some of that stuff. But, man, I'm really interested in getting to know you as a guitar player and just kind of your journey through music. I want to talk about Haji's Kitchen and playing music with your brother. But, man, if you could take us back to the beginning, like, what initially got you into music and eventually playing guitar?
Well, I took piano lessons when I was like 5, like probably a lot of people do, but that was the beginning of it, really. I did that for like a couple years or something. My brother ended up getting a guitar, and he was playing like AC/DC and all this stuff, you know, and I was like really inspired by that. So I was like, I want to play, you know, and he initially told me my hands were too small. You can't play your hands too small. I was like, I don't know, man, was I 8 or something probably at that time? So he had this little miniature Explorer guitar too, and I was like, well, can I play on that one? Yeah. He just didn't want to teach me, I think, at the time. You know, pesky little brother or whatever.
Yeah.
But eventually he built me when I was 14, I ended up getting a drum set and playing some drums. Actually, it was Anthrax album that got me into that, into drums. I was like, my God, that's insane, you know. Can't remember the name of the album right now, top of my head. But anyway, there was an Anthrax album I was listening to, and I was like, oh my God, I got to play drums, you know. So I got a drum set. I did that for like, I don't know, a few months, and I was like, I really want to play guitar. So my brother had a bunch of spare parts laying around. He had like a body with no neck and a neck with no body and like some pickups laying around. So he built me a Frankenstein guitar and showed me some stuff, and that was it. You know, it was off. You know, it started out with like learning Metallica riffs and Testament. I was a big Testament fan. Alex Skolnick was huge for me in high school. And then, you know, just I played in a bunch of garage bands. I've always been playing in bands, you know, since the time I was like, 14, I guess. I was trying to play with other people. So, I mean,
very cool.
That's the beginnings. And then I can remember actually my brother was listening to Holdsworth in the car one day. He was listening to Metal Fatigue album, and I was like, you know, there was the singer comes on and everything, and it's like clean vocals and jazzy chords in the background. I'm like, what the hell are you listening to? I'm like 14, I think, or 15, maybe. And he's like, oh, it's Allan Holdsworth. Just wait till the guitar solo comes on. So he introduced me to Holdsworth. Yeah, once the solo came on, I was like, holy shit. You know?
Yeah. So
what's
happening?
Yeah.
Dude, how many years apart are you and Scott?
5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was definitely like several years ahead, you know, like when you're a little guy, 10 years old, he's 15, so he's probably like really getting into guitar. Yeah. Man, can you like compare and contrast like what it was like being a kid when you were coming up? Like, were there a lot of other kids in the neighborhood wanting to learn rock and metal music? And if you can, compare that to what kids are growing up with today.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, you know, my friends and I all were into like Metallica and, you know, like I said, Testament and Megadeth and like all those typical bands. Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, all that stuff, you know. So we were trying to learn those riffs off records like right away. Yeah. Mm-hmm. it's just, I don't know, today, well, you're always like, you're hanging out with your friends, you're always like talking and playing and sharing ideas, and you learn something new and you're like, hey dude, check out this thing I learned, or a friend comes to you and is like, dude, I just learned Breaking the Law riff, or you know what I mean? Like, and they show it to you. Today, I don't know, man, I think it's just like, well, we didn't have as much information either back then. You had some guitar magazines with some tab here and there or whatever, but it was mostly you had to pick things up by ear. And today, there's so much information on the internet. Anything you want to do musically, you can find somebody that's probably an expert in it and can get you going, and like some of the technique that I see with these young kids is just insane, like man, I couldn't play like that when I was that age. No way. I would play like there's, I see so many, it's like, man, there's that one kid who's like, I don't know, he looks like he's 8 or 9 or something like that. He's playing blues, soulful sounding stuff, man. That sounds like a 40-year-old, guy that's been through it.
Yeah, guy that's been through some shit. Yeah, but he's 8.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so it's like,
wow.
I don't even know how that comes about. Having the feel and the soul that, at that young age is just really, really crazy. The technique part, that's crazy too, but I mean, it's like, at this point, I think I've pretty much seen a fetus play giant steps at 400 beats per minute. So it's like almost nothing it's hard to be impressed anymore. You know what I mean? It's just gotten to such a crazy level. But I wouldn't want to be doing this, like, trying to learn and make a name and like all that stuff in this day and age. Just with the social media and everything, you know what I mean? I think it's just, I don't know.
It can be overwhelming. Like there's so many distractions, and it is kind of nice to like, and maybe it's nostalgia, but kind of think about the time when you just had your guitar and your practice amp and some magazines and maybe a couple books and recordings, to like kind of sit with. I think, in my opinion, that's better than what we have now in a way, because you have to sift through so much stuff. But I do.
Yeah, I'd be so overwhelmed. You know what I mean? If I was a kid right now with all the stuff.
But when you find something that's truly cool and unique, and you stumble upon it on Bandcamp or on the internet, I do think that still is a cool thing. You do get some of that feeling, or you find a new guitar player that's really doing something special and unique. The thing that I hate about kind of modern times when it comes to like being a musician is like, I said earlier, I put out a record today, and I was involved in every aspect of that, including the promotion now, and I'm going to be running Facebook ads, and like that's a whole thing you have to learn how to set up. And I'm working on a tab book for that, so I'm going to be promoting the tab book and selling that on my website. And it's just like, it would be nice to just, I'd rather be already halfway through another album or another recording rather than still have to be creating video content, shooting music videos, doing all of this promotion stuff, man.
You got to do everything yourself these days.
Right.
So, I'm dealing with that I haven't really run any ads yet, but I've looked into it. You know what I mean? I just don't know, like from my books, but I just don't know how effective it's really going to be. I don't know. I'll probably try it at some point, but right now I'm just like, I post little videos or little clips of me playing stuff that's, hopefully gets people's attention, and then sell a couple books,
For sure. Yeah. Do you feel like everyone who is interested in Holdsworth kind of already knows about you and your books? You think you've like reached like the ceiling of that market, or?
Really don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I've sold a lot of those, of that book. You know, but I don't know. I don't know, like, I guess
I'll show these here.
The people that are interested, they're really interested in Holdsworth and learning about how he approached things and stuff like that. Probably know about me at this point, but
yeah.
But I don't really know. I mean, I don't really know the demographics or anything like that. You know, like I don't pay that much attention. I just do. It's just something I was passionate about, was learning about his approach and stuff like that. And it never started out to be a book anyway, right? It was initially, I had a student, Thomas Dawson, who did like he did like one or two of the podcasts with Danny, with me on the Marvin channel. But I was into it, already into Holdsworth, right? I've been into Holdsworth since I was like 14, like I said, but, you know, he came to me for lessons. He was like kind of a blues kid, and he was learning, you know, he had taken some lessons with a more straight ahead jazz guy. So he had learned a little bit about scales and chords and how they relate and all that stuff. But he had trouble like making music with it. But he came to me because he had seen me play or heard me play, and he liked my playing. And at the time I was like a more, you know, probably I was more into straight ahead at the time. So I was playing a lot of, you know, Pat Martino type stuff. He's like one of my big influences, and Rosenwinkel and Jonathan Kreisberg and all these guys. But, you know, we went through a bunch of that stuff, and then, you know, I showed him like the minor conversion concept, Pat Martino's minor conversion concept and all that. If you want to get into that, we can get into that. But we eventually like were just progressing. He's progressing really fast, you know what I mean? And so I just started, at one point I was transcribing The Drums Were Yellow, and you know, so I started showing it to him, you know, hey man, I got this transcription, you know what I mean? And then we just got really wrapped up in Holdsworth and transcriptions, and like, so I was doing lessons for him that kind of, as I was figuring things out, trying to help him understand. Well, we're both trying to understand it at the same time, right? Like I'm doing a lot of research, and I'm, you know, logging all these thousands of scales and like all this sort of stuff, and with no intention of ever doing a book, you know, but it just kind of snowballed into a thing. And then by the time, you know, a few years down the road, I had like this massive collection of transcriptions, and I had figured out, you know, based on, like, I basically read every interview Allan ever did, and I just like took all the parts where the interviewer was actually able to get information out of him, because it's hard to get information out of him, but every now and then he would spill the beans on like quite a bit of stuff, you know. And you know, if you got the book, you have it, there's a zillion quotes in there, you know, backing up everything that I'm saying, you know.
Yeah, no, I really appreciated the quotes, because you kind of get anecdotal evidence to, you know, the fact that, you know, Holdsworth wasn't just playing random notes chromatically around the diminished scale, and he actually had a system. And like, that's what I think I appreciate the most about your work, is like well, first of all, you distilled all of the scales down to what, 22 unique scales, 22. And then you're finding those unique scales in his lines and actually like analyzing it so that people can see it clearly, and then understand like, oh, they can actually attach a label to that sound that they're hearing in his solo, which no one had really done that before. Everybody was just kind of mystified by Holdsworth's, you know, line flow ideas and his movements. And with the quotes, I will say that was something I really enjoyed, that you compiled all of that in kind of the intro of the book, so that you can kind of start to peel back the layers slowly and then start to get to the
I mean, there's
material.
quotes in like every section, like all through the book, where if I get to like the scales that don't complete themselves in one octave, there's like a quote about how he approached that. When I was looking into that, there's different ways to approach that, you know. But the way he approaches it was pretty similar to Dennis Sandoli, who was a guitar player in Philly that taught John Coltrane and like a bunch of people. Like, I think Pat Martino took lessons with him, and like all these, you know, guys that ended up being jazz legends. So, anyway.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So the process of putting the book together, that started with teaching Thomas, your student, you know, some of the stuff that you were discovering. Do you feel like you had to do the same amount of work that Holdsworth did in terms of like the Slominski scales and stuff like that?
I went through all of it, dude. I went through the whole Slominski book. Went through every freaking thing, and I found stuff. You know, I found the well, first of all, the Messiaen modes are in the Slominski book too.
Okay.
So Messiaen didn't like invent these scales; they've always existed mathematically, right? He just discovered them, right? So by using math and everything, and then that's what Holdsworth did. He's talked about, you know, trying to figure out music using math. So he basically logged all like every 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 note scale. Right, he logged every one of those. It ends up being like 1,749 scales. And like, you know, initially I didn't do that. I knew that, you know, he used Messiaen's mode 3, right? Because it's in the instructional video, the REH video. But he calls it symmetrical. That's, you know, he has a symbol for it actually, but in the book, they call it symmetrical. You know.
Gotcha. And that's mode 3 that you're referring to, right?
Mode 3.
Yeah.
The only reason I attached Messiaen to it is just because most people are familiar enough with him and those scales because of him. You know, those scales are kind of attached to him, even though they were in the Slominski book and they're in other books. And Holdsworth would have discovered them either in the Slominski book or when he was logging all those scales, because when I logged all the scales, I found those, you know.
Yeah. So now, did Holdsworth ever mention Messiaen in an interview? Like, did he ever call him out by name?
No.
Okay.
And actually, Alan's friend Chip, I think he was Alan's guitar tech or something like that for a long time, and he was like one of Alan's best friends since like 71 or 72, something like that. And he has said that Alan didn't know who Messiaen was, right? Because apparently Alan was doing a clinic at like Berkeley or somewhere, and people were asking him about Messiaen, you know, and he looked at Chip and was like, why is everybody asking me about Messiaen? Who's this Messiaen guy? That's what Chip says, right? You know, but you don't have to know Messiaen to have found those scales and be using them, because they're in. You just have to be able to do math. Permutations of, you know, the chromatic scale, and you'll come up with them.
So he discovered them on his own, I guess. Like we can deduce based on that information that Holdsworth was just another guy doing the math and discovered the same scales that Messiaen did, even though Messiaen had been doing works with those scales for a few decades prior, right? Yeah. So, and I should say his organ works, if you haven't heard those, are just phenomenal. I think he recorded those when he was pretty young too, maybe in his 20s or something like that. Remarkable stuff. He has these like minor movements in his like, you know, like, let's see here. You know, like stuff like that, but on the pipe organ, of course. And it's pretty fascinating.
Those scales, you get like some pretty interesting stuff, you know, interesting because there's so much chromaticism in most of those scales, you know.
Yeah, dude, I was going through your comping on the Mode 3 and then I'm trying to think of some of the other. It was like forms like that, which kind of remind me of Looking Glass in a way. Man, I haven't played that tune in so long. I'm out of practice on a lot of the Holdsworth stuff, to be honest with you, man.
If you're gonna play, you know, you got to maintain it.
You do. You certainly do. Yeah, but I like those forms and the non-adjacent string chords like that don't typically have major thirds in there as well.
Right.
They're kind of these elusive like stacks of fourths and fifths and seconds, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm always looking for the rub, you know. Minor second rub or whatever, the major seventh rub, you know. So
absolutely.
So I mean, you know, just investigating these scales. Well, actually, you know, if you're going to start investigating like 9-note scales and stuff, these aren't the ones I would go to first. I would go to the jazz major, add flat 3, flat 6 scale.
Yeah, you know, I think
major, yeah, because the major scale with some added notes, you know. So that's the best way to get started to me. That's like the gateway into Holdsworth, is to start investigating that scale. So much stuff in there too. It's just, you know, voicings and like all the lines and shapes, you know, the minor third half step shape and half step minor third shape and like all these different shapes that you see him do, you know. It's one of the things that always fascinated me about him when you watch him play was some of those shapes. You know, you're seeing this minor third half step thing and this half step minor third. You're just going, you know, and even when I was learning the drums for Yellow, you know, I mean, I really, really put a lot of effort in trying to get the fingerings and everything as accurate as I could.
Dude.
And
yeah.
When I was playing through it, I'm just like, you know, I don't even know how you come up with this stuff. You know, it's so, at the time, alien to me at the time, you know. But the more I did it and messed around with it and stuff like that, you know, I started figuring out. Actually, what happened was when I figured out, I was messing around with, there's this David Baker book I have called Non-Diatonic Scales, right? Saxophone player, not David Baker, David Liebman.
Yeah, oh, cool.
Liebman, Non-Diatonic Scales, and he has like some 8 and 9 note scales in there and stuff like that. And I was actually going through that book, and I was playing some stuff. I started playing some of the scales 3 note per string, and all of a sudden all those shapes Holdsworth plays just started appearing, and I was like, light bulb. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
that was the light bulb moment. And then I went and like went back to the REH video and the book that they put out. You know, the book they put out has some extra scales in it, right? The 9-note scales, the jazz major, add flat 3, flat 6, and the jazz dominant, add flat 3, 7, right? So those are in there. The minor 9-note scale isn't in there, but I found that later. But anyway, you know, I started messing with those scales. I was like, all right, well, I know Holdsworth used these because they're in the book, right? And the same thing started to happen. I started playing them 3 note per string and stuff like that, and it's just all these shapes started appearing. You know what I mean? Then I went back to the transcriptions I had done, and I was like, oh my God, you know, I see all this now. You know, I could see. And then once I really got into the Messiaen modes, I knew he used mode 3, but once I had figured this out, I was like, all right. I had been messing around with mode 4 on my own anyway before I even realized he used it. And I was like, you know, I'm going to go see if I can find mode 4 in any of these transcriptions that I did. And if I do, well, that tells me he's using more than just mode 3.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Well, obviously, you know, the whole tone scale and diminished scale are Messiaen scales too. So,
right.
But
that's 1 and 2.
Yeah, which he uses those, but we know he uses 3. And then once I started finding 4, that was it. I was like, all right, I found 4 in multiple places. I know that he's using that. So then I started looking for like mode 6, and, you know, mode 7 showed up. Mode 5, I never really found him using that one. There is like one line where he does kind of use it, but basically just plays straight through it into something else, you know. So he did technically use it, but it doesn't seem like he uses it as much as the other ones.
Yeah. Now, I got a question for you. So, studying the scales themselves, did that make transcribing Holdsworth stuff like way easier? Because you could kind of get used to the fingerings and identify stuff? Or
I don't know if learning the scales helped really, because still, even though I was seeing some of the fingerings that I recognized from the drums were yellow and just from videos of watching him play, there were still other shapes and stuff that I hadn't found yet, you know, or things that he does on a regular basis. And, you know, so I got more and more into watching live videos and trying to figure out exactly the fingerings so that I would know what his favorite licks are, you know. And he has basically a lot of licks and movements that he does over and over and over again, as much as he hated that. You know, but everybody does it. Anybody that's trying to improvise on a like high level, you just can't spit out, you know, it's just like if you didn't know the alphabet or didn't know any words and you were expected to talk.
Yeah.
Probably not going to go so well. You know?
Right.
So
yeah, every guitar player kind of goes back to their home licks, like their own idiosyncrasies that show up in their playing.
Yeah, I mean, everybody
thinking.
has it. You know, I mean, the great saxophone players have them too. You know, because I play saxophone, so I've transcribed a lot of Coltrane and Michael Brecker and stuff too. And I find stuff that they do over and over. You know, everybody has kind of like go-to things, especially, you know, if you're playing it really fast, breakneck speeds. I don't know if you saw the transcription I uploaded the other day. Last week or whatever, it's like a live.
Oh, the Devil Take the Hindmost?
Yeah, where Holdsworth is just like ripping the whole time. You know, you're not spitting that out with randomly, you know what I mean? There's like a bunch of fingerings that he plays all the time. There's a bunch of ideas that he's stringing together. You know, it's, you know, really improvisation to me is more like editing. It's like real-time editing. You have some ideas, and depending on the chord progression that's going on, whatever the tune is, it leads you in different directions, you know, so your solo ends up being different than the solo you played before, but it has your fingerprint on it, because the things you practice the most are the things that are going to come out when you're improvising, right? So if you sit down and you just practice straight scales up and down, but when you go to improvise, that's what's going to happen. That what happened to Thomas when he was learning about that stuff before he came to me. Everything he played just sounded like scales, and he was like, "Man, how do I?" You know, and there's a language to jazz, right? You've got like enclosures and like approach notes and flat nine resolutions, 3 flat nine resolutions, and like all this different stuff, you know, that make up the language, the bebop scales, and all that stuff plays a part in it. But with Holdsworth, he's trying to avoid that stuff. You know, so even though he's ending up like sounding very Coltrane-ish, to me he sounds like, you know, Coltrane on guitar. Basically what he sounds like. If you listen to Coltrane enough, or if you know, transcribed Coltrane or anything like that, you know, you get that sound in your head, and then when you listen to you listen to Holdsworth, you hear that, you know, you hear the like he's trying to come at it from like the energy and the vibe and stuff like that, but and he just took a different route to get there, you know. So he's thinking more scales with chromaticism in them and less about approach notes and enclosures and stuff. He doesn't really do that. Yeah. So, oh my God.
Brett, how long did it take you to transcribe that double take the hindmost like segment that you posted recently? Like,
well, I did it like a year ago, so I don't really remember, but I did go back through it just to double check things, and it took me like a week just to double check things. So,
yeah,
you know, and I didn't even like on that one, I didn't even transcribe the rhythms 100% accurately. I just simplified them to make my life easier. Because, you know, in the book, the transcriptions that are in the Holdsworth book, in the mystery, like I went to great lengths to try to get those rhythms as accurate as possible. And, but you know,
dude, it's so hard.
Yeah,
I was going to say, like, I transcribed low levels, high stakes, and the rhythms just would not fit in the measure, like trying to get the stuff going over the bar line.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so, because you're dealing with like 32nd notes and 16th note triplets and groups of 7,
like divisions, you know, there's
so brutal.
Yeah, there's a bunch of, you know, groups of 7 and 9 and like all kinds of crazy stuff, you know. And I was limited by Guitar Pro because I was using Guitar Pro, so some of the things, there were things I wanted to notate differently that I just couldn't do in Guitar Pro. So you just do the best you can with the tools you have, and I mean that's all you can do, you know.
Yeah.
So,
for sure. So like when you're transcribing something, are you slowing it down with like a DAW or with like Amazing Slowdowner, or like what are your tools? Transcribe, yeah, I've heard that one's good.
Since like I think it came out like in the 90s, I found it and I bought it and I've been using it like ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use that one, and sometimes like with that one I just uploaded, the Devil Take the Hindmost thing, I actually had to extract the guitar, you know, isolate the guitar to even, because it was so muddy and there was just like the bass is loud and people are screaming in the audience, even though the screaming's still there. So that was fun. But but doing that like really helped me be able to get it, I feel, you know, as accurate as I could, you know.
Yeah.
It's still not the greatest audio. So I mean there's probably some mistakes in there, but you know, I tried. So,
yeah. Dude, I'm interested, like what is your all-time favorite Holdsworth solo on a recording, and then what's your all-time favorite live recording, whether it's a YouTube video or something like that, where he's really cracking into the next realm?
Yeah. Probably The Drums Were Yellow was my favorite. I mean, for a long time. What happens is once you learn that solo and you spend a bunch of time on it and you work it up and everything, you don't like it anymore. You're like, I don't ever want to hear that solo ever again. But that was the one that, like, you know, because I had gone through a period where I was, you know, really focusing on jazz. Like when I left Haji's Kitchen, I left to go pursue jazz, you know, and I got a saxophone and I was like really wanted to play a saxophone because I wanted to play the lines that Bird and Coltrane were playing and really feel how they're feeling it, you know, on their instrument. So, but then I fell in love with saxophone and like I really got obsessed with it, and then I ignored the guitar for like 5 years. So,
wow.
Yeah, I've had a couple periods where I ignored the guitar for 5 years. You know, I opened a business at one point and ignored it for 5 years too. Well, everything. I basically sold everything in 2007 and opened up a supplement store. But
wow.
What was I talking about? I lost my train.
Well, dude, we should talk about your time in Haji's kitchen, you know, and how you got involved with that band, because I believe your brother played in the band first, right?
No, Eddie and I formed it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
sorry about that.
No, yeah. He came in after, like when I left, I didn't want to leave the guys, you know, high and dry. So I asked Scott if he would step in and like, so I could leave.
Yeah.
And he was down to do it. So, you know, we went to rehearsal that day, you know, them not knowing I was going to quit, but I basically quit and handed Scott over. But, you know, and they were like, oh man, that sucks. But, you know, you got to do what you got to do. So, but yeah, the band initially started with me and Eddie. Well, initially, actually, you know, the way I got in touch with Varney and everything was basically Derek Taylor had sent like, you know, Varney had that spotlight column in, you know, the guitar magazines, and he had one called Hometown Heroes in another magazine. Derek had sent a demo and gotten into the spotlight column, and then later on, you know, Derek encouraged me to send him a demo, and I sent him a demo and got into the Hometown Heroes column. And then Derek, with his band Tommy Lamey, which is my brother and Derek, got signed first to Shrapnel, and then Varney had initially sent me to Florida to hook up with Daryl Gable, and he was trying to, like, you know, he was trying to create kind of the next Racer X, right? And he was putting me and Daryl together to do it, but the catch was I had to move to Florida, right? Daryl had a wife and everything, so you know, already at that young age. So I went down there, stayed at his place for 2 weeks, and like he was cool. We got along, everything was cool. We worked well together and everything, but I just couldn't. I didn't want to live in Florida, I guess. So
yeah,
I came back.
Man, I didn't know that you played with Daryl. I mean, Daryl's another like great fusion player. Like he's definitely like transcribed a lot of Holdsworth and has a lot of great resources too. So I didn't know you guys worked together. That's crazy.
Yeah, we've been friends, man, since like '91 or something. You know. That's cool. So anyway, when I came back to Texas, I ended up meeting Eddie, and he had a drummer already. Clint Barlow was the original drummer. We weren't Haji yet. We're just like dudes jamming, you know, trying to put something together. And actually, my brother's wife was the bass player in the first rendition of what became Haji, right? So we did that for a while. We were doing more kind of, it probably was more Racer X sounding then, you know, because we didn't have 7 strings yet. I don't even know if they were available yet. I know we got them like pretty close to when they became available, and you know, we were influenced by Racer X and Pantera and, you know, Tool and like all these other, Alice in Chains, all these kinds of bands, and we just kind of, you know, eventually we got rid of Clint for some reason. I can't even remember. Well, I don't know if we got rid of him. Maybe it was mutual. I can't really remember. But we ended up bringing in Rob, who was the drummer for Tommy Lamey originally. So we got him playing drums. So he's playing in both bands. And then the singer that Varney had sent down here for Tommy Lamey ended up not working out. I think him and Derek Taylor didn't really vibe. And then he came over, we grabbed him, and you know, and then we got Derek Blakely. We actually got Derek Blakely before that, the bass player. At some point, you know, we got rid of my brother's wife for whatever reason. I don't remember the reasons how it all happened, but it ended up finally being me and Eddie and Clint, or me and Eddie and Rob and Derek Blakely, and then we grabbed the singer that Varney had brought in for Tommy Lamey, and we started sending demos to Varney, and then we got signed. to do, we were supposed to do, the original deal was for like, I think 2 or 3 albums, plus Eddie and I doing a solo album together, or not together, but individually, right?
And that was all with Shrapnel,
yeah, that was all,
that the record label?
Yeah.
Okay.
So initially we had solo album deals as well. And I recorded mine, but like, I was really burned out on the heavy stuff, and I was really burned out on the shred, and I was getting into jazz. So I ended up doing this weird kind of jazz thing. And Varney was just like, well, I can't release that, man. That's like,
oh no.
You know what I mean? So,
dude, if you don't mind me asking, like, what does a Shrapnel Records deal look like during that time period? Like, did it give you some living expenses to continue to practice and focus on your art, or like what did that all entail?
So for us at this time, Varney was trying to save money. So instead of flying people out to LA to record in the studio there, Prairie Sun or whatever it is that he used all the time, he had sent Greg Howe like a bunch of, like $10,000 or something to buy all this equipment. And Greg recorded like, after, I think it was after Uncertain Terms, he recorded, or maybe he did record that one at home too. That might've been the first one he recorded at home. And then all of his were done at home. And so he had Greg Howe already doing that. And he said he wanted us to do that. He would front us $10,000 or something like that. And, I can't remember the exact total, if that's what it was, but it was somewhere in that neighborhood. And we bought equipment to record with.
Yeah,
so we
just recording your own.
Yeah, we had a home studio. What was I going to say? Oh my God, look it up. What was I talking about?
Dude, I mean, who? So go, if you don't mind, just go over who is all on the first, the Freak Kitchen record, the first record. And I was also curious because the drums sound like they're programmed or something like that. They like, maybe they're not, but were they triggered?
One song had a drum machine on it. It's the first song called Machine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what it was. Okay.
That song has drums programmed by Rob. But the initial Haji, or the one that got signed, was, me, Eddie Head, Derek Blakely, Rob Stankiewicz, and Eddie Ellis was the singer. And we got fronted that money or whatever. And then, but part of the deal with Varney too is like he ends up taking a lot of publishing, So we signed away, I don't remember the percentage, but probably close to 75% or something.
Oh, so you don't own any of the music, yeah.
So like,
he's getting it on the back end.
Yeah, so he's still making money. I never saw any money from that album, actually. I've made more money off of the one we did in 2012, when we put that one out on our own. I mean, I still get checks for that are decent.
Good.
But with Varney, all we got was the fronted money that I know of. Unless Eddie's keeping something from me. But so we got the fronted money, the studio, and then signed away a lot of our publishing. And then just, what happened was we initially recorded the drums at Rob's house. So we took all the equipment, which is usually at Eddie's, we took it over to Rob's place, and he recorded the drums there. But then we decided, then the rest of us did our parts and everything, and then we decided we didn't like the drum sound, so we talked Varney into paying for a studio to go track the drums in a studio here in Dallas, so they were tracked in a legit studio.
Right.
So Rob had to record the album twice.
Oh my gosh.
Which is a lot. I don't know if you listen to the drums on that first album, man, it's like a lot of crazy shit.
Oh yeah. That's to me like a goated record, man. That, like, I remember an old guitar teacher of mine, Corey Bonnet, gave me that. well, he gave me a lot of CDs, man. He like offloaded his entire like shred library to me, and that CD was in there. And I remember finding it and just like putting it in at random
Right.
into my CD player and being like, holy cow, this is like Pantera, but with like even more shredding, more like sophisticated ideas. And I love the vocals too. I thought the vocals were so badass.
And the initial way that Varney, I think, marketed us was, you know, Pantera meets Racer X or something like that, you know.
Yeah. Did you guys ever tour?
We didn't really tour like, you know, a legit tour, but we got in a van and drove around. Drove all over the place playing shows, you know. So yeah, kind of.
We call that touring. I mean,
it wasn't like a legit, you know, you got a bus and everything. That never happened. You know, the problem is when we came in, Nirvana and the Seattle thing, the grunge thing, was starting to get like take over, right? And nobody cared about guitar playing and guitar solos anymore. And even though we had an influence of Alice in Chains, if you listen to the vocals, there's Alice in Chains harmony influence in there. And even though we had that and everything, you know, we didn't get all the, you know, accolades that Jason Becker and Greg Howe and all those dudes got in the 80s, where they're in all the magazines. And like, we did some interviews for like Young Guitar that are in Japanese, and I can't like even read it. I don't know.
Yeah, you can't read them.
They called me on the phone and asked me a bunch of questions, and I answered them. And then they called Eddie and asked a bunch of questions, and he answered them, and then they put it all together. And, you know, we're in like a Young Guitar somewhere, and then we had ads that Varney had put in magazines for Haji's Kitchen and stuff like that. But, you know, we didn't get necessarily the endorsements and all the stuff that Greg Howe and all those guys got, you know.
Yeah.
So, because it was just the shred thing was dying.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, what an interesting time in music, man, where like the guitar is still very much a part of popular music and contemporary music, but if you're playing a fast solo, people just didn't want to hear it.
Right.
Like it's just crazy, man. Yeah. Like they preferred the sloppy Kurt Cobain solos. Sorry, I'm not trying to shit on Kurt Cobain. I think he was a brilliant guy, you know.
Wrote some great songs and
incredible songwriter.
Yeah.
But yeah, just that's I guess people were just tired of the excess of the notes or something like that.
I mean, I get it. I kind of got there, you know, playing with Haji and doing the album. And, you know, before that, my brother did a solo album, and I played on that quite a bit. And I wrote a couple tunes for it because he was a few tunes short. You know, and I actually feel like that album has some of my best playing on it that's been from back then, you know.
Yeah.
So,
dude, have you ever heard about the whole grunge movement being like a psyop? Have you ever like looked into that or heard about that?
No, big conspiracy guy, so fill me in.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say I'm a master of it, but there's this guy on YouTube. He goes by Izzy. And he talks about a lot of like esotericism and occult influence in the music industry. Yeah. And he looks at like a lot of like symbolism. Like he'll like look at like Bad Bunny's Super Bowl performance or Sabrina Carpenter. And, you know, if you trace Sabrina Carpenter, her parents like have, her parents are involved in the occult in some way. But it's just kind of a fascinating thing to think about. Like if you go back to the 60s with the introduction of like LSD and like the hippie move. Oh, I cut out. Oh, sorry. Well,
for a second.
What I was talking about was, you know, like if you study like the Haight-Ashbury community and like how the CIA infiltrated like the hippie community and gave them like LSD and stuff like that, there's evidence that they could be involved in something like the grunge movement, and even as far as Kurt Cobain's death, you know, like he Because like Dave Grohl, his dad is tied to the military industrial complex, and as is Courtney Love's family.
Right.
So there's a possibility that they were involved in like Kurt Cobain's death. I'm not claiming to be a master at any of that stuff, or really, but it's just super interesting, right? So,
yeah, I'll have to look into that some more. I don't know, I mean, nothing surprises me anymore these days. So
yeah,
like literally nothing. So,
well, it kind of makes me sad that more people aren't into jazz fusion and stuff that has sophisticated harmony, because to me it's like the best of both worlds. You've got the edge of rock and roll and like people just going nuts on stage in terms of like playing loud and drummers hitting hard, and then you've got this interesting harmony and of course shred guitar. Like what could be better than that? But the general public looks at it and is perplexed or
right.
doesn't know what to respond to. But dude, what has your experience been being a guy that's into this kind of music?
I mean, it's hard, it's hard to, it's hard to find places to play. It's hard to, get gigs like that. Because it's kind of the same thing Holdsworth went through, where you're too rock for the jazz club and too jazz for the rock club. And you know what I mean? So I don't know.
Is that why for a period of time, like you wanted to go like into just straight ahead jazz?
No, actually, I mean, the way I got into that was, I had been listening to Tribal Tech and Holdsworth for years, in high school and everything. And then, I did the Haji thing and the shred thing and all that. And I was burned out on it. And I was, hearing this cool harmony, all this sophisticated harmony and stuff that Scott Henderson and Holdsworth is doing. And I'm just like, man, I want to learn that stuff, And they had led me back to basically Chick Corea, right? So after listening to them, found out Scott Henderson played with Chick Corea, so I started listening to Chick Corea. And then Chick Corea became like a huge influence for me,
Oh, he's so good, man.
His acoustic stuff really more than the electric band, but then I went from, Chick Corea led me to Miles Davis. Miles Davis led me to Coltrane. Coltrane led me to Bird. I went backwards, and, I just started falling in love with the music, the jazz music, and really wanting to do that. And my favorite guitar player was Pat Martino, when it came to that stuff. So I got his REH videos and everything, and I learned about the minor conversion concept and all of that. That's basically how I got into it. But then when I got into saxophone, I was really into Brecker and Coltrane and Sonny Rollins, and so I was transcribing and learning a bunch of that stuff. My brother and I would go play gigs doing that, where I'd play saxophone, and he has like a Charlie Hunter 8-string, so he'd do like the walking bass line and the
cool
comping and stuff. There's a couple of videos on YouTube that are like horrible audio, but I'm playing guitar. It's the same thing. It's just he and I, but I'm playing guitar on those. Anyway, we had like a reoccurring every Thursday gig at this restaurant downtown Dallas, and we play on Saturdays sometimes and stuff like that. We just played jazz standards, and basically I had to play the melody and solo over all of it, and he was basically my backing track, kind of, so.
That's a lot, yeah. Constantly playing and as a sax player and not really taking breaks.
Yeah, it was a lot. It helped me improve. I got a lot better at saxophone doing that for sure. There's no substitute for that. Getting out playing live and like, even though I don't do it much anymore, but like, I've got like tinnitus real bad, and like I can't play I can't be around super loud music unless I've got like, probably headphones on or something.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's like I'm kind of noticing that if I'm in like a crowded environment and I'm trying to have a conversation with someone, it's like so hard to hear what they're saying, you know? And yeah, protect your ears, guys. Anybody that's watching this, if you go to shows.
Like that's the one thing I regret the most was not wearing earplugs, you know, when you're in a little rehearsal space with Rob and his big drum set, his cymbals like right here, like one.
Oh yeah.
And then you got like, you know, me and Eddie both have 412 cabinets with, you know, whatever heads we had at the time. And Derek Blakely had, you know, freaking, I don't know, a stack of bass equipment, you know, and we're like loud in rehearsals, man. It was just like we were playing live. It was the same volume. So my ear has gotten so bad that I've been, you know, suicidal over it. So
wow.
Definitely would recommend younger people take it serious, you know?
Yeah. You're like the second person that's mentioned that, man. The singer for this Norwegian metal band that I like called X-Toll, you've probably heard of them. Their singer has had like other like mental health problems due to his hearing and tinnitus.
Yeah, me too.
So
it causes a lot of anxiety, you know?
Yeah.
And then the anxiety leads, you know, well, basically to me, it's like an alarm system now. If my body, like my nervous system and everything starts getting all out of whack and I'm not sleeping and, you know, my ear starts to get louder and louder, if I'm drinking too much caffeine, if I'm eating the wrong things, you know, so it's, you know, for me, it got to a point where like it was so loud. It was basically like having like a air horn, like a higher pitched air horn right next to your head 24 hours a day. I couldn't sleep for like a month. And basically I ended up on antidepressants, which, you know, started to regulate my nervous system, which started to back off the sound a little bit. So antidepressants do help with, for me anyway, they've helped with controlling the tinnitus, the ringing, you know. But man, you know, I mean, how do you sleep with something that loud? You know, you can't. And I've got two box fans that I sleep, you know, right on each side of my head. You know,
yeah, the white noise.
The white noise. I got to have that. You know, I mean, right now it's pretty like under control, but if I start to get under a lot of stress or like, I can hear it, but it's not like it's manageable.
Yeah.
You know, but like,
man, I'm sorry that you have to deal with that, dude. That's such a bummer.
I mean, it is what it is. It was bad choices, you know, but like if I can talk about it and help somebody else not have to go through it, then, you know, that's what I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, man. I think that's crucial because I go to a lot of like local metal and hardcore shows here in Nashville, and I see a lot of people wearing earplugs, but then I see a lot of like really young kids like not with any earplugs.
You're invincible at that age.
Yeah.
You know?
And you know, I've heard like exposure to like loud sounds like over 120 decibels for a short period of time is like not that bad, but it's the long-term exposure like at band practice and cymbals and drumming, and that's where you're really like doing the damage.
Well, that's how it started with mine. Was I would go to rehearsal and or like a concert or something, and then my ear would ring for a couple of days and then it'd go away, and then all of a sudden one day it just didn't stop, you know. But it wasn't horrible. It was just kind of annoying, and you habituate to it to a certain extent, you know, where your brain kind of can tune it out. I mean, now that we're talking about it, like I hear mine more because I'm talking about it, but like that's how it works, you know. If you're just not thinking about it, you know, it's there, but it's not driving you completely nuts. That's the best case scenario if you can get it to that point, you know. But there's plenty of stories I've heard of people actually committing suicide from it. You know,
they just want the noise to stop, I guess.
Yeah, it's just brutal because like it and it causes anxiety, and then you can't sleep, and then the lack of sleep causes more stress, more anxiety. It's like a cycle that you can't get out of. And
wow.
Like, I mean, it led to like severe clinical depression in my case, you know.
Man.
So,
I didn't realize how serious this was, man, to be honest with you. Like, I knew it was bad, but like,
it can be like, I mean, it's, you know, I mean, it's changed my life, you know, for not for the better. So
yeah, it's
like something I have to deal with every day, trying to control it and eat right and like exercise and just all the, you know, things that you should probably be doing anyway. It kind of forces you into having to do that, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Dude, real quick, I'm gonna replace a battery in one of my cameras here.
Right.
But you know, I want to ask you how you go about applying some of these 9-note scales to the fingerboard. And you know, I don't want to take up too much more of your time because we've been talking for an hour. But I was kind of looking for some practical ideas like around that.
Yeah.
And so let me swap this battery out really quick, and then we can kind of launch. I can pitch that question to you again.
I can play, man, with my finger. But
yeah, I remember you mentioning that.
I can play for short periods typically.
Sure. Yeah. Why don't you tell us what happened to your finger, man? While we
another thing
I set this up
for people to be careful about is the way you hold your phone for hours. But that's basically what happened to me. I think it was a combination actually of that and playing, you know, because I do like a lot of really wide stretches, and if I don't keep that stuff up, if I don't maintain that, you know, and I just come in here trying to shred it up, doing that kind of stuff, like, you know, it can take a toll on my hand. But really, I think the main culprit was the way I hold my phone, which was like this, right? So I've got like here, and this, and I'm putting a bunch of pressure on this finger. So what ended up happening was I have like a ligament right here that it just hurts, you know. And the more I play, or the more well, now I don't hold my phone like that, but I mean, it's, you know, I did it for so long and I didn't do anything about it because I didn't really understand first what it was. But now that I figured it out, you know, obviously you got to do something about it. But I'm kind of having to recover from years of doing that, you know.
Yeah.
That's basically the finger problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had different hand issues over the years just from, I think, just playing guitar, but I try to warm up, I try to stretch if I'm going to really play. Like I play 8-string too, so that's another thing I got to be careful of. Like there's certain riffs on the 8-string that I have to be really conscious of my wrist angle.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brett, you know, I wanted to ask you about, you know, applying the scales that are in your book to the fretboard, and really like obviously we can learn the Holdsworth solos, and that can give us a lot of insight, but I'm kind of curious, like with something like Messiaen Mode 3, like everybody's familiar with this probably, like but there's just like so many different possibilities, like because of the 9 notes. Like that's one, and then earlier today I was like, but I'm just curious, like what other like is there a process that you go through mathematically to like apply it to the fingerboard? Like
I wouldn't say that. I mean, like to get it visually in my head, actually what I figured out to do is like this, there's only 3 notes not in that scale, right? Out of the
wow.
There's only 3. The 3 are an augmented triad.
Oh, dude.
So if you just like treat this augmented triad all over the neck as an avoid notes, everything else is wide open.
Okay, that was a light bulb moment for sure, man.
Yeah.
the I guess the one you're playing now is
A augmented. Yeah, A.
Oh yeah.
For C sharp.
Yeah. Okay. So every note other than
yeah.
So it's finding the augmented one in the key that you're in.
So I just think about those three notes. What I initially did was I just started thinking about those three notes when I was playing and avoiding them, and it really started to open up visually for me that way.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing is, finding the shapes, the different kinds of shapes that are in there, the minor third, half step, and all that, like all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
But then also, one of the problems with this scale is that when you play it 3 note per string, usually it ends up going across the neck like this, right? So, like, what I do is I started just trying to play mostly 3 note per string, but I'll leave notes out of the scale, right? So, like, so that it's more like, it's more vertical.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to track with what you play
right.
there.
I mean, like, want to slow the video down later or something.
Sure.
Right. So that helped me doing that, right? Because then you can just kind of, just like if it's the major scale, if I have the major scale, right, I play it like that kind of thing, instead of the traditional 3 note per string. And actually that helps with visualization, and it also helps with the 9 note scales, like jazz major, add flat 3, flat 6. If you know this shape, this box of the major scale, all you got to do is see the A flats and the E flats in this position, and then add them. Like, I'll add them and leave out other notes, right? Like, I'll add E flat and leave out D instead of. I go. Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah. And then I'll add the A flat,
Oh. Kind of reminds me of like some of the forms that show up in double harmonic major.
That's a subset.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of subsets in these 9 note scales. So this one has, like, melodic, C melodic minor, A harmonic minor, A Hungarian minor is that's double harmonic major. I call it a Hungarian minor.
Yeah, I think is that the 5th mode of double harmonic major? I'm trying to remember where the Hungarian shows up.
So it's like it's just harmonic minor with a sharp 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the way the way I go about learning things, obviously, is you learn something and then you try to learn. When you try to learn something new, you relate it back to the thing you already know. You know what I mean? So when I'm learning these 9 note scales, I always try to relate it back to like a major scale or pentatonic or like whatever. You know what I mean? So that's why I think people should start with like this scale, the major add flat 3, flat 6, is because it's just easier because most people are going to know their C major scale.
Yeah.
Most shredders most definitely know it. So you just add 2 notes to that, but the E flat and the A flat to C major. Now, when you do that, though, you don't have to play all those notes all the time, just like you do when you improvise with a major scale. You don't necessarily play all 7 notes, right? You just mix and match different notes and patterns and stuff. So same thing here, like I did earlier, leaving out the D and playing the E flat in place of that, or leaving out the A and playing the A flat in place of that, you know?
Yeah. So when you're working on like a 9-note scale, for example, are you spending time in like different sections of the guitar neck and mastering the scale in that area, and then after spending a period of time in each pocket of the neck, you've got it down?
Pretty much.
Okay. Yeah. And then when you're improvising, you're just using your ears and not playing every note in the scale like you just mentioned, but just trying to find ones that really
whatever sound I'm trying to get in that moment, you know. And the fact that there's these subset scales too, you know, I mean, you can weave in and out of the major scale, C major and C melodic minor, you know, kind of weave in and out of that, and that gives you the A flat or the E flat. You know, if you just thought about those 2 scales as one scale.
Yeah.
So that's one way to think about it. There's like so many different ways you can go about thinking about this stuff.
That's what's exciting about it to me, and also just the sound of it. You know, you get that really outside sound that it just sounds like you're cracking through another dimension, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Dude, I wanted to ask you, like, in terms of like application of mode 3, are you playing that off of the root of like a dominant chord or the major third? Like how are you thinking about application, like with something like mode 3?
So what you try to do is you're trying to find, you know, just like with the major scale, you've got, you know, the major, minor, minor, major thing, right? Going all the way up. What I do with this scale is I pick a root note and then I try to find all the voicings I can find in there, right? I can find C major 7, find dominant 7, can find minor 7, right? You can find major 7, sharp 11. And all those things are movable in major thirds, so you can, if I was going so that's a progression you could take. So it's basically three different major 7, sharp 11 voicings, and then you can play that scale over it. So it's a scale that, you know, enables you to play over multiple chords that are the same sound, right? Within like a given key.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you're referring to mode 3 right now, or
C mode 3.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Man, that's fascinating. So really you can, okay, so we can start mode 3 and play that, for example, over any of those those chords. Yeah. Okay, wow.
And any of those chords, a major third above or below. You know?
Yeah. See, I always like played Messiaen mode 3 off of the 7th step of harmonic minor. Like that's just kind of how I thought of it. If it was like a minor chord or something and I wanted to make the harmonic minor sound, I would kind of like expand on that with mode 3 by playing off the 7, or the major 7 of the major third of a dominant chord. I kind of thought that worked too, but once again,
different ways to think about it. I like to think about it as like the scale is a circle, and anything in that circle is usable and playable. You know what I mean? So if I find a chord progression in a tune and it uses like C major 7 to A flat major 7, I can use this scale, right? It's going to give me a more out sound, right? It's going to sound more, it's going to, you know, twist your ear a little bit, make you be like, what the hell was that? You know?
Yeah.
So, But it's just like, it's just like any other scale. So whenever you learn the major scale, you learn all the triads that are in that scale. You learn all the seventh chords that are in that scale. You learn inversions. Same thing with this scale. And also just structures, like I just like to take structures. You know what I mean?
Dude, that sounds so cool.
Yeah, I'm just playing through the scale using structures that are in that, this is just like a flat, major 7 sharp 5 over E though, right? So but I'm just seeing more structure really.
Oh. Is that what you're playing?
Structure down a half step. The next note in the scale is E, and I'm just going to choose, like I just chose this voicing.
Oh, yeah.
And the next note is E flat, so I chose this voicing. What was it? No, that's not it. What? Oh, yeah, that was it. So it's like,
so yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah,
man. So I want to talk to you about like why maybe a lot of people don't like this kind of harmony. My question is like, you think it's just because they haven't listened to enough of it and their ear is just like, this sounds really bad to me, like they
haven't been exposed to it enough.
They're just used to consonants so much,
like I was just talking to Daryl last night about how any transcription I post that's a Holdsworth transcription or any video related to Holdsworth, I get somebody coming in there saying, I like David Gilmour better. You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, I've had hundreds of comments of people saying David Gilmour. I don't understand it. I don't understand why you would go to a Holdsworth video and do that. I don't go to a David Gilmour video and say, I prefer Holdsworth. Why would I do that?
Dude,
keep scrolling. I think it's like, for me, when I first heard Holdsworth, it was very weird and bizarre, and I didn't get it. I liked the fact that he was blazing, some distorted guitar at the time because I'm a shredder, and I'm like, fucking, that's crazy. I think people really don't even realize how freaking crazy Holdsworth is, because not only, because you always see these arguments that they're dumb arguments anyway, like who's the fastest guitar player in the world and stuff, like who gives a shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be making music. Anybody can be the fastest dildo in the West, right? So,
right.
To me, it's just like, but I see these arguments, right? So anyway, I see these arguments all the time. And a lot of times Holdsworth never even gets brought up in the conversation. And it blows my mind because not only was Holdsworth playing just as fast, if not faster than Sean Lane on certain phrases, but the stuff he was playing was 20 times more complicated than what Sean was playing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some of those Holdsworth lines, one in particular, I probably can't even play it right now. Yeah, that. Like that thing.
Jeez.
You know what I mean? He plays that so freaking fast, man. I can't even play it. I can't play it as fast as he plays it. And I'm a shredder.
Yeah.
It's like, it's no.
Yeah, it's just like in one regard, it's like, how could you even conceive of something like that? And obviously you kind of figured that out, with your books and stuff. But then it's actually executing it in a live environment,
right?
Where the conditions are, you never know what the conditions are at these clubs, and
the accuracy and the that he pulled that stuff off with live,
The proficiency of his playing too. It's just even in like his carving guitars video, you know, when his Fat Boy came out and they shot that video, and just his command of chords, you know, I'm just, it's just like, God damn, man. Like, it's just so, like, it's just amazing to think about. Like, I've spent a lot of time playing guitar throughout my life, and I'm like, well, did he play like that much more than me, or was he a genius? You know, like maybe it's a little bit of both, you know, but
a little bit of both.
Yeah.
You know, man, I mean, it's kind of, you know, Holdsworth was like, he never really liked to talk about music, and he never understood why everybody, you know, he's really down on himself, and why everybody freaks out on him. He doesn't really get it. And I think one of the reasons, because like once I logged all these scales and I went through and, you know, learned the fingerings and started putting together the transcriptions and what scales he's using and all this sort of stuff, the approach itself is a very simplistic approach, right? You have it's like a set pitch theory kind of thing, right? You've got a group of notes. Everything you play has to come out of that group of notes. Okay, chords, lines, melodies, whatever. But in Holdsworth's case, those pitch collections they're modulating, right?
Wow.
So
that's a good way of explaining it.
Yeah. He's just modulating through these different pitch collections, and that's the hard part. And the hard part is putting it together the way he puts it together, you know, where everything flows so smoothly and everything, you know, when you play through his solos really slow, you're just like, man, the way this is put together and the fact that he did it on an improvisation, you know what I mean, is just boggles your mind even more. You know, you're just like,
oh yeah, I mean, low levels, high stakes, the chords just don't even repeat themselves until, I don't know, 32 bars or something like that. Like, it's just this long stretch of music with no repeating chord changes, and then when they do repeat, they come back around in a different way. They repeat in a slightly different way than they did the first time. So
that's what he liked to do, man. When he wrote music, he talked about, like, he likes to modulate a lot, and like, if you hear a part in a song for the second time, it's usually probably transposed to a different key. So he might be using the same voicings and the same melody, but it's transposed. So it's always something different, you know, going on.
For sure. Well, dude, you know, I'm sorry that you've received like a certain amount of like hate, like over the years. Like you just mentioned, like the people that comment on your videos and say like Gilmore, like I prefer listening to Gilmore or whatever. But then you also get a certain degree of hate from the Holdsworth community itself, like trying to call you like a Holdsworth clone, and like, oh, the maestro wouldn't like you playing his stuff, or like the maestro. So cringe to me. What'd you say? Sorry,
I cut all these comments, I guess. That's
well, some of them, man. Like I don't know. I look at you as an individual that wanted to know. You know, you wanted to really understand how Holdsworth was thinking about this stuff. One of the greatest guitar players of all time, and I feel like you did it. You know, and you're sharing that with the community in the form of a book that we can digest at, like. To me, that's a lifetime achievement, man. Like, and you should be proud of yourself. So,
yeah, man.
But yeah, how do you deal with the hate, man?
I mean, I don't really care. I mean, I joke around about it or whatever. Like, I'll might respond to them in a, you know, sarcastic way or whatever. My humor, you know, same way I do with the memes and stuff. But you know, the goal was never to you know, be a clone or just play his licks or anything like that. I was after the harmony, right? Like, what scales is he using? How's he using them, right? How is he applying them? Why does this stuff he plays work? That's what I want to know. But the problem is that to do that, I had to get so deep involved in like the way he plays and getting the fingerings accurate, and like even the touch. Like, I changed my touch when I whenever I'm doing like a Holdsworth impression or something, I pick like a lot lighter. I'm typically like a pretty aggressive player, actually, from years of Pat Martino stuff and years of shredding and Paul Gilbert and like, so, you know, crap, I blanked out on what we were talking about. What were we talking about?
Well, we were just talking about how you personally deal with the hate, you know.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, the thing is you got to get super deep into this one person's playing. Obviously, that's going to have an effect on you, and I knew that it would. I mean, I went even so far as to try to match his tone and everything. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But I know why I'm doing it. Other people on the outside don't know why I'm doing it, maybe, and I can see from their perspective why they might think what they're thinking, but they don't know me. They don't know my journey. They don't know that I've been a saxophone player since I was 25. They don't know that I played piano freaking basically my whole life. They don't know that, you know, I've been through all this jazz study and all this sort of stuff, you know. It's just like, to me, Holdsworth was another step. And I always feel like, I've always felt like if there's going to be another true pioneer of the guitar, they're probably going to have to go through Holdsworth to get there. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's a good take on that, man.
Yeah, so
that's interesting.
That's just my thought, because he is, I mean, everybody can debate it all day or whatever, man, but Holdsworth's probably your favorite guitar player's favorite guitar player.
100%, dude. Yeah, I think you're right about that. I mean, even Sean Lane, that was like one of his favorites.
Yeah, I mean,
he loved Holdsworth.
Yeah, that's totally where Sean got all that, you know, like all that stuff, you know. Seeing Holdsworth live, he talks about it. I found a quote from him that I actually posted about it, where he's talking about that. And Eddie Van Halen tapping, you know, he was trying to play some of the stuff Holdsworth was playing, but he didn't know how Holdsworth was playing it. He was like, well, how do you get it that smooth? Well, Holdsworth's doing it with one freaking crazy big ass hand. But like
big ass hand.
Yeah. But you know, Eddie started tapping it. I mean, that's the other thing, you know, about today being able to see everybody play. Like back in the day, you might learn a lick or something, but you don't know exactly how they're doing it, where on the neck they're doing it. Maybe you don't know. Maybe you know, a certain technique they're using. You don't know that they're using that technique, and that line that you play sounds like that line they're playing to you, but to somebody else it probably sounds a little different. You know what I mean? Because you're not playing it exactly the way they play it. Nowadays you can get like anybody, whoever, I don't know, you can get Guthrie showing you exactly what he's playing, slowed down, you know what I mean? Like every little nuance, and you know, just you didn't have that back in the day. I think sometimes when you're transcribing stuff back in the day and you were actually making mistakes, it actually just helped you develop your own voice. You know? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I would even say there's still like a layer of there's still a veil on Holdsworth's like technique. When you look at, for example, like his right hand and all of like the hybrid picking that he does while he's shredding, you know, with his left hand, and then also like you've mentioned it a lot in the How to Holdsworth Marvin videos, where like the hammering on from nowhere stuff that he's doing, and he's not doing like the traditional rolls between like it's like almost all hammer-ons, right? Like,
yeah, well, there's I mean, like there's this line that's like all hammer-ons pretty much. Here it goes. Like all of that. What is it? Right? Like that's all basically hammer-ons. I'm having to pick more than I would because I'm in a clean tone right now, but hammer, 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 right? Pull, hammer, pick, hammer, you know?
Yeah.
Whatever. Can't even remember it, but
Oh, also like pushing up, like it seems like, you know, if I'm doing like a pull off,
Yeah.
like he would like push up towards, you know, like that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like,
seems like he's pushing up.
right.
That's what it looks like. You know.
Right.
I don't do that, but
man, I started doing that after playing, you know, Devil Take the Hindmost and Low Levels High Stakes. I mean, dude, I played those solos for like almost a year straight, like, because we were trying to get them perfect, you know. Eventually I just decided to release the work because I was like, I don't see the point of playing the same solo forever when there's so much other great music to learn.
Yep.
But yeah, low levels, high stakes. I mean, man, there's like that line. He does that like 3 different times, like, and modulates it each time, and that's like one of my favorite parts of that solo.
Yeah.
And then Devil Take the Hindmost too. Like stuff like that, like with the diminished scale, like that just like blew my mind, like that he actually did that in that solo. I'm just like, how do you see in these structures like on the fingerboard? It's just wild.
Yeah, I think it's just, you know, playing the scales, the different, you know, 3-note per string and 4-note per string. He actually doesn't do as much 4-note per string as people think he does in his solos. Not the way that he shows it in the REH video anyway. He doesn't really do that much.
Well, at the end of Low Levels High Stakes, he does that like you know, he does that like 4-note per string roll, but he's changing it.
Right, but yeah, he's not like running through scales though.
Right,
it's usually
like Rusty Cooley style.
Yeah, no, it's not really like that. But anyway, what was I gonna say? Like, keep blinking out on stuff, man.
Well, yeah, we were just talking about some of the licks,
all the licks that he has.
Like how did Holdsworth conceive of that? How did he see that on the fingerboard? You know,
which one?
Well, like I'm trying to jog our memory back here a second, but yeah, we were talking about 4-note per string, low levels, high stakes. He's changing. He's changing that 4-note per string roll based on the chords as it's now, which is just like it's like a high point in the solo. But
I love that part.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say he actually plays a lot more 2-note per string stuff than people think. Like thing he plays all the time. He'll play like
stuff like that.
Favorite major arpeggio, major 6 arpeggio. And then he'll add this 7th up here sometimes. But it's 2-note per string, you know, and then he's got other phrases where he does.
Oh, there it is, man. Yeah, there's the mode 3.
I'm all stiff. But anyway. A lot of 2-note per string stuff, really. Yeah, anyway.
Beautiful, man. Yeah, you don't sound stiff at all. Not to me.
Oh, man. My fingers are stiff.
Dude, well, how about this? Just a couple more questions specifically about Holdsworth. And these are more kind of from some of his quotes and just kind of the stuff that he's known for. And then we can kind of close this out. But, you know, my first question is, in the Marvin interviews, you mentioned a quote from Holdsworth where he talks about how traditional jazz players rely on tradition so much instead of truly improvising. In your opinion, do you think this is what killed jazz? Musicians weren't reinventing the wheel, but were rather relying on tropes of older jazz players?
that what killed it? I don't know if that's what killed it, but it definitely like it is a thing because it's just the straight ahead thing has become so formulated. Back in the day, what would happen is there'd be saxophone players in the alley listening to Charlie Parker playing on stage. They're behind the club trying to figure out the licks as he's playing them.
Holy shit!
What I mean? And I've heard stories of that. I wasn't there, but that's what stories I hear. So there was that, and then you had having to get on stage with Charlie Parker if you're a young saxophonist or something, and you get the chance to sit in or something like that, and you get your ass handed to you, and then you're like, well, I'm never going to let that happen again, you know what I mean? And you go home and practice your ass off like never before. But I mean, it has become really formulated. The last guy that really, I feel like, moved straight ahead jazz forward was Coltrane, That's how long it's been. And he died in '69. So
not even like Michael Brecker or Chris Potter
not
or
really. I mean, they haven't. What they've done is they've brought in, made it more fusion, right? So they've got more like funk grooves, and they're playing over those funk grooves and stuff like that. And as great as they are, a lot of what they play stems from Coltrane, like almost all the time. This is why, it's so frustrating with the Holdsworth thing and the people getting so upset about somebody trying to learn Holdsworth and go through Holdsworth to better themselves. Brecker did it with Coltrane, right? Brecker did it, Bob Berg did it, David Liebman did it, George Garzone did it, Branford did it, like all those guys.
Yeah.
They all went through Coltrane and then they developed their own voice. They let other influences in, and then those other influences, create an amalgamation, as Eric Johnson says, of which ends up being their voice. You know what I mean? And I've got a ton of other influences other than Holdsworth, trust me. And some of them came out like on the Messiaen Etudes book. If you have the Messiaen Etudes book,
I do.
Especially some of the comping. There's like Herbie Hancock and Chick Corea stuff. Richie Byrack, another piano player that I like a lot. Some of their stuff came out in the comping, because I'm influenced by them. That's not something Holdsworth would do. But anyway, I don't know if it ruined it. I just think that jazz has gotten to the point where I have trouble listening to it anymore because I want to hear something different, right? You can almost I know where the solo's going, you know what I mean? Especially if I know the tune, if they're playing a standard or something like that, I can almost tell what they're going to do next based on what they're playing right now. You know what I mean? So there's not really a ton of surprises in it anymore. It's cool. I loved it. I was a jazz snob for like 10 years. When I left Haji, I became like a jazz snob. I listened to nothing but jazz for 10 years,
I just feel like that quote that you shared in the Marvin interview, it's like Holdsworth is kind of like he's kind of shitting on other improvisers because and almost saying, hey, you're not really improvising. You're playing like memorized tropes. You're playing licks, and I don't know if that's fair. But,
that's kind of what he's saying. But then Allan does it too. Allan just does it with his own shit. Okay. Allan's doing it, but he's falling back on his own ideas rather than like Bird's ideas or Coltrane's ideas. I agree with what he's saying, and I can understand where he's coming from. And, I think I've gotten to the point where I'm that way about Holdsworth now too, where I know his style so well, right? I know, like basically when I watch a video, a live concert or something, I know all the fingerings he's playing. I know what he's doing just by looking at it. You know what I mean? never mind hearing it. I can hear it too, obviously, but I can tell exactly what, oh, there's that major 6 arpeggio that he plays all the time. Oh, hey, there's that, string skipping triad idea that he plays all the time.
Wow.
Like, you start to see the things that he does the most. And those are things that obviously live he's going to fall back on. Everybody has that. You can't not have it. The closest thing I think to an organic improviser is Keith Jarrett.
Wow.
Piano player, where he went out on stage with no preconceived anything and played a 3-hour show that was recorded as an album.
Jesus Christ, dude. Yeah.
And when you listen to him, he's singing everything that he plays, number one, right? So it's coming from his heart more than his mind, you know what I mean? More than an analytical thing, it's more of an emotional feel melody thing. So he's creating melodies in the moment that are, not that he doesn't have he has the bebop language and the post-bop language like under his belt, but it doesn't sound as forced when he does it. He somehow is able to make it sound way more organic. And the other guy that does that, guitar player wise, is Rosenwinkel. Rosenwinkel is one of the more organic sounding improvisers to me.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Because like with Pat Martino, like I know his style really well because I did basically the same thing I did with Holdsworth with him. Transcribed a bunch of solos, analyzed them, played his lines, freaking tried to get what I liked out of it and used that, you know what I mean? So there's him, and then like I've listened to like Jonathan Kreisberg so much that I know pretty much everything he's gonna do, before he does.
Yeah, he's a beautiful player, man.
Yeah, they're all great.
So good.
Yeah, all of them are great, but like you stick to one for long enough, you start to notice all their isms, right? So the Kreisberg isms, the Coltrane isms, the Brecker isms, the Holdsworth isms, like they all have, that's like your little fingerprint, So even if you're taking ideas from somebody else, you can still have your, voice attached to it, where you make it your own. Now, is that the ultimate goal? I think the ultimate goal would be to learn the language and then be able to improvise as freely as you can with other people and have that conversation. And like that stuff is happening in jazz, but there's also a lot of it, especially these days, it seems like since they started teaching it as a subject in school, right, where you can go to North Texas right down the street here and learn by books how you learn about the approach notes and the enclosures, and you learn about all that stuff through books, and there's like a technical aspect to it. I think a lot of jazz guys today don't listen enough, right? You have to listen to the music as much as possible and absorb the music like on a more audio emotional level than an academic level. And even though I've done a lot of academic work with Holdsworth, right, I've been very academic about it, that's a means to an end, right? It's not the all be, So anyway.
Oh, it's cool. Thanks for responding to that, man. I just wanted you to kind of comment a little bit more about that particular quote.
I don't know if I even answered your question, but
well, I mean, we can sit here all day and try to figure out why jazz is not popular, but it could, at the end of the day, be just the CIA didn't want us to listen to it or something. You know what I mean? Yeah, it could just be that, dude.
Yeah.
They killed off everybody. They introduced drugs into the jazz world until they all died from addiction. I don't know. Sorry to make that dark, but here's another one for you, Brett. Why do you think Allan Holdsworth chose to create his own symbols and terminology for the scales and music theory that he used? versus relying on the traditional kind of way of talking about scales and
just
traditional music theory.
I mean, I don't know, but I feel like he probably just wasn't an environment to learn that. You know what I mean? His dad was a piano player who I think was actually his grandfather, but he called him his dad, was a jazz pianist. So Holdsworth was hearing jazz records and he's hearing his dad play piano, and he said, there was something I saw where he said his dad would play a chord on the piano and he wanted Holdsworth to play it back to him, you know, but the dad didn't say, hey, this is, you know, minor 7 flat 5 chord. He just played the chord, and Holdsworth had to, by ear, try to play it back, you know.
Like on the guitar?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so Holdsworth had to play it back on the guitar. And a lot of those voicings he plays that are super insane are like very pianistic voicings, you know.
Yeah.
Some of them are just Holdsworth isms, but like a lot of them are like, you know, because I play piano too, so I've studied like Bill Evans and like all that stuff, and there's a lot of that kind of thing that he's trying to pull off on a guitar, you know, which is why he has to freaking do that.
yeah,
play a chord.
Yeah, do the.
But from what he said, man, was that he just wanted to figure it out on his own. He said he wanted to be able to play over standards and stuff that he was hearing Bird and Coltrane play over, but he didn't want it to sound like it was coming from that. Meaning he didn't want to learn their lines exactly and didn't want to, you know, take that route to get to the destination. He wanted to take the route of, I want to figure it out for myself, and I want to get the, basically said he wants to get the energy or the substance from Coltrane, not the exact idea, right? So, which just seems like that's what he did. He kind of got like the vibe of Coltrane and pulled it off on guitar, just doing it another way. I mean, there was a quote where he said that he just wanted to figure it out by himself by using math. And I'm paraphrasing the quote, but he said, you know, he wanted to use math, and then he would come up, and he didn't care about the names of the scales. He would figure out names for them later, what he said. And then I think what he ended up doing was coming up with those symbols as the names. You know, to him, it's just a symbol.
Yeah. A symbol that is associated with a certain tonality.
Right. Yeah. Certain scale. He has one for mode 3, right, which is 3 little circles. So it's like you might see A and then 3 little circles, and that's mode 3.
There's other times in interviews where he's used like traditional terminology, right?
He knows. I think just because he's around musicians all the time, he's picked up, you know, what some of these scales are actually called. You know, he knows, like I've heard him say, you know, like harmonic minor. I've heard him say harmonic minor. I've heard him say, what was the melodic minor sharp 4, which is, you know, harmonic major. It's a mode of harmonic major. Right, but he thought of it as melodic minor sharp 4. So his symbol for that was the melodic minor symbol, which is the circle with the X around it, and then +4, sharp 4. Right.
Fascinating.
So yeah, that was his symbol for it.
Dude, this is kind of a tough one to talk about, but like, why do you think he was so like he didn't want to talk about music? He drank a lot. It seemed like he needed to drink maybe to like be free kind of in solo, especially after hearing the Marvin stories and stuff, how they had to like, you know, pick him up from the bar and collect his guitars like later that night. And like, what?
I mean, I think he had like performance anxiety. I mean, there's some videos I can see that I've seen where when he goes to play his first solo, his hand is shaking really bad. You can see it. you
Holy
know?
shit.
And then as
Yeah.
the performance goes on, he kind of calms down more and more as it's going on. You know, maybe he's like, okay, it's sounding pretty good or whatever, and it calms him down. Or the alcohol is kicking in, but I think the alcohol is kind of, you know, his Xanax or what,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Or his beta blocker to be able to, you know, perform in front of people instead of taking like, you know, propranolol or whatever. He's drinking alcohol, you know. And he did, like, from what I've heard, he did take like some benzos and stuff like that. He had an issue with those at one point.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Do you think it's
go ahead.
Do you think it's because like the guitar community can just be so brutal at times, and like they expect a certain level of playing from him, and now he's getting older, and you know?
Yeah, but I mean, but even when he was young, he was the same way. Even when he was like on fire, he was the same way. He was very I think it's just being very self-critical, feeling like you don't really know anything. Maybe because he
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, imposter syndrome. I mean,
Yeah.
I get that with a lot with, you know, talking about Holdsworth as much as I do and doing the book on him and everything. I mean, I've thought about taking the book down and like not selling it anymore, because who am I to write a book on Holdsworth? You know what I mean? Like,
oh man,
I get the same kind of like imposter syndrome things, you know?
Yeah.
But,
I think we all do to a degree, man. Like you're certainly not alone in that.
no,
like,
yeah. No, I know. I think it's like any musician that's like on a high level or is trying to be on a high level, you know,
yeah,
other than the conceited ones that are like, you know, overly confident or whatever. There's the other extreme, which is the guy that's like Holdsworth, that's very self-critical, thinks that he sucks, everything he does is awful. Can't believe anybody even wants to listen to it, you know, let alone like spend all the time I spent on it, you know, like 7 years or something. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, what was the original question again?
Well, why do you think he was a little bit self-destructive?
So,
I guess
about
would be the
talking
question.
about music. So why didn't he like to talk about music, right? So I think the like talking about music thing is because knowing what I know now about the symbols and about logging the scales and like the way he thinks about music being these basically pitch collections that are just modulating. In reality, that's a very simplistic approach, and he's probably not able to communicate it to other musicians, so he'd rather just not talk about it because it's not going to make any sense to them the way he thinks about music, right? Unless you get obsessed with them like I did and like, you know, deep dive it to the point where, you know, just asinine, then you're not going to understand. But after going through his process, I can say there was a point where I didn't want to talk about it anymore either. Because I was just like, you know, because my feeling is, even though I put the book out there and I go through all the scales are listed there. So I basically did it for everybody, but I think everybody should do it on their own if they're really interested in it, right? Because there's so much I learned from logging those scales on my own, figuring out, you know, mathematically figuring out what the notes are and all that sort of stuff, but then playing those notes, spending some time with those notes on the guitar and just investigating, you know, scales that I can't remember today and don't even use right now, but I played through 1,749 scales. You know what I mean? Like literally.
It's crazy.
I played through them all. Sometimes I spent very short amount of time just kind of looking at it, investigating what kind of voicings can I get out of this, and then move on. And some of them I was like, oh, this is really cool. I want to use this, you know, so I make a note of that scale, you know, but I just think it was the fact that he felt like he didn't know anything, so he didn't really want to discuss it. Or just the fact that, you know, the way he thinks about it is so foreign to anybody else that he's not going to be able to make any connection with another musician, academically speaking, you know?
Yeah.
You get on the stage and it's a different thing. Then you're dealing with music, right? You're dealing with vibration and notes and emotions, and you know what I mean? So you can communicate that way. You're dealing with rhythm. So
yeah, it doesn't necessarily matter how you get the notes out, as long as you get long as you're up there and you can hang, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I guess that's why he never really taught guitar, even though he was probably forced to do like an instructional, those instructional videos. You know?
Pretty sure he was like either in need of money or like, you know, got pressure some way to do that REH video. But like, I'm really glad that he did do it, you know? At the time, I thought it was like, oh man, I didn't really get anything out of this other than watching him play and having my brain explode from that.
Right.
You know I mean, but like, as far as I was like, really, it's just all these scales that he's putting together, and you know, like at the time, I couldn't grasp that. You know, it wasn't until I went through my jazz phase and studied jazz harmony and all that stuff that I was able to come back, you know, to Holdsworth and look at things through a different lens, you know. But then I had to drop that. I had to drop the jazz theory stuff and just go, okay, I got to take this from scratch. I got to pretend I don't know anything about jazz harmony, because Holdsworth didn't know anything about jazz harmony when he started, right? He just started logging scales and went from there, you know. So that's what I did. I logged scales and I started just playing through them and seeing what I could find, and little Holdsworthisms just started to funnel their way out, you know.
So cool, man. Yeah, it seems like Holdsworth also just wanted people to find their own voice, you know, and not copy him, you know.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Yeah, and I agree with that, and that's why it might be confusing to people, because I'm a Holdsworth clone, but
no, you're not, dude. Yeah,
that's what I get, the comments I get. But anyway, you know, one of the things is, man, if you play with distortion, you play with good technique, like you can shred, and then you play these scales, you're going to be compared to him in some way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because these sounds are, once people understand what these sounds are and they actually investigate them, they become more of a normal thing, which is what I hope happens. People are going to be exposed to them more, and they're going to understand that, oh, you know, when they go back and listen to Holdsworth, now that this stuff is just like learning a major scale, right? That's what I hope. I hope all these Messiaen scales and the 22 scales I put in the book end up being like something that everybody learns and goes through if you're trying to be a serious musician, you know?
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah, and so
I mean, maybe we should all just start playing with like really harsh fuzz pedals so that we're never compared to Holdsworth.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, if you have chops and you play like these scales and you play with distortion or gain of any kind, like you're gonna get some Holdsworth like clone comments probably.
Yeah, I think you're right, man. Well, dude, you know, I wanted to ask you, are you still taking students on right now?
Not right now that much. I mean, you can hit me up if somebody wants to. My email's brettstinemusic@yahoo.com. If you want to hit me up.
Cool.
Well, it really just depends on my mood. Like if I feel like it.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I'm doing all right with the books that I don't have to necessarily teach one-on-one. And it's just one-on-one. I do like doing it, but it is very time consuming. You know, it takes up a lot of your time for very minimal pay, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
You know, I'd rather do, like, I'm thinking about doing some masterclass type things or something like that, where I get a group of people and everybody can ask questions or whatever, something like that. I might do down the road.
That'd be sick.
But you know, people can find the books on my website, brettstinemusic.com or .net. And also Allan Holdsworth Transcriptions.com has all my stuff there, and Amazon has it. So.
Very cool, dude. Well, what are you working on now? Like, do you have any summer projects planned, or any new books that you're working on?
I have like music I'm working on. I'm trying to work on some new music, and
Hell yeah, dude.
kind of like Haji meets Tribal Tech meets Holdsworth.
Sick, dude. It sounds insane.
Yeah, it's like fusion. It's got some fusion elements, but it's got heavy grooving riffs, and it's got solo sections that are like more harmonically interesting and stuff like that, So it's
very cool.
Pretty different, I think.
Is there a group of musicians that you're working on that with?
A drummer. Oh my God, what's his last name? I can't even think of his last name right now. Detmeyer. So Tom Detmeyer is the drummer. I think that's how you pronounce it. Maybe not. He's a like insane drummer, like really insane. I don't even know this dude, man. He should be touring with Rush or whoever,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Other than Annika's great. Don't get me wrong. I've been following her for years and years already. But what was the question again?
Just what musicians are you playing with on these recordings?
Right now, it's just that. It's me and that drummer that I had play on a few things or whatever, and I'm going to have him play on some more. It's just a matter of me getting the stuff written. And then I'm trying to get, I might get Derek Sherinian to maybe play some keys. And then...
you should, man. He's sick.
I reached out to Evan Marion to play bass. So we'll see how that goes, if he's into it or whatever.
Yeah, Evan's great, man.
Yeah.
Played with Holdsworth
so
several years ago.
If I can get those guys if I get the songs written the way, organized the way I want them to be. Right now, some of them are just sporadic ideas, but then I'll reach out to those guys and get them on there if they want to do it and put out an album or an EP or something,
Yeah. That's exciting, dude. Yeah, releasing music is the best. I highly recommend it,
Yeah. I haven't done it in a while, man. So it's been a while.
Yeah, it'd be awesome to listen to it, man.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I can't thank you enough for sharing all this time with Shred Sessions today. And
right on, man.
I figured this would be a really great follow-up to the Rusty Cooley interview. We're just trying to go after the shredders now. We've done a lot of bands over the last year, but people are watching stuff like this more, so I wanted to do more. This is the stuff that I'm genuinely interested in too.
Yeah.
So
that's cool, man.
So yeah. So Brett, thank you so much, man, and don't be a stranger, man. You got to stay in touch. So
right on, man.